this program to bring you a special news bulletin. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, by air, President Roosevelt has just announced. The attack also was made on all naval and military activities on the principal island of Oahu. We take you now to Washington.
The details are not available. They will be in a few minutes.
Never before in the history of mankind has there been a greater melding of man and machine as that which took place during the Second World War. With Nazi Germany and its Axis allies expanding a 3.2 million square mile chokehold on Europe, and Japan conquering over 2.8 million square miles of territory in Eastern Asia, the Allied air and ground forces were the only thing stopping Axis fascism from achieving global domination. From the deserts of North Africa to the frozen steppes of Russia, from the tiny island stronghold of Iwo Jima to Hiroshima, Axis and Allied war machines clashed in a bitter battle of endurance and will. World War II took its place in history not only as the greatest battle in the fight for democracy and freedom, but also as the Great Air War. Military strategists on both sides saw the advantages of maintaining air superiority with such vast territories in contention. Troops and supplies could be mobilized within hours instead of days and weeks, and strategic bombing could devastate enemy forces ahead of ground troops. With Allied forces manufacturing over 633,000 aircraft throughout the course of World War II, the rules of military engagement had officially changed. Powerful enemies must be outfought and outproduced, President Franklin Roosevelt told Congress and his countrymen less than a month after Pearl Harbor. It is not enough to turn out just a few more planes, a few more tanks, a few more guns, a few more ships that can be turned out by our enemies. We must outproduce them overwhelmingly so that there can be no question of our ability to provide a crushing superiority of equipment in any theater of the World War. 2 years earlier, America's military preparedness was not that of a nation expecting to go to war. In 1939, the United States Army ranked 39th in the world, possessing a cavalry force of only 50,000 and using horses to pull the artillery. If the American military wasn't yet equal to the Germans or the Japanese, American workers could build ships and planes faster than the enemy could sink them or shoot them down. In the wake of Pearl Harbor, the President set staggering goals for the nation's factories. 60,000 aircraft in 1942 and 125,000 in 1943 alone. War production profoundly changed American industry. Companies already engaged in defense work expanded. Others, like the automobile industry, were transformed completely. In 1941, more than 3 million cars were manufactured in the United States. Only 139 more were to be made during the entire war. Instead, Chrysler made fuselages. General Motors made airplane engines, guns, trucks, and tanks. Packard made Rolls-Royce engines for the British Air Force. And at its vast Willow Run plant in Ypsilanti, Michigan, the Ford Motor Company produced something of a miracle of 24 hours a day. The average Ford car had some 15,000 parts. The B-24 Liberator long-range bomber had over 1.5 million parts. At the peak of production, a new B-24 came off the assembly line every 63 minutes. World War II was a war of attrition. Allied forces threw more lead, more steel, and more troops at German and Axis forces and, in doing so, created legends of war from the machines it produced. After the war, some aircraft were sold to Allied countries for military and non-military operations, while others remained in active service for their country. As time passed, once great aircraft like the B-17 bomber were used as drones for target practice, while other aircraft were sent to desert boneyards after being stripped of usable parts. The same machines that carried our troops to the front lines, crippled enemy manufacturing and supply routes, and brought them home safely are being lost to time. Our story, however, doesn't end here. In fact, it leads us to a small city-owned airport in the Midwest. Grimes Field in Urbana, Ohio, is host to the Champaign Aviation Museum. Unassuming in stature but entrenched in the battle against time, the Champaign Aviation Museum and its team of over 100 dedicated volunteers worked tirelessly to restore these remarkable wings of war back to their former glory and prestige. Home to the immaculately maintained and airworthy B-25J Mitchell Champaign Gal, the Champaign staff of volunteers is dedicated to maintaining our aviation history. Unlike federally subsidized museums, visitors can not only view aircraft, but get up close and personal with restoration staff and their works in progress, making the Champaign Aviation Museum a truly unique visitor experience. In addition to the regularly flown B-25J, the Champaign staff are well underway with the complete reconstruction and restoration of a B-17G flying fortress designated the Champaign Lady. Using a collection of over 28,000 original blueprints from Boeing, the Champaign staff are painstakingly procuring, refurbishing, and in most cases fabricating by hand the over 1.7 million pieces that comprise a fully functional B-17 bomber. With an additional 6 years ahead of them, the Champaign staff search the world for rare parts and components to either refurbish or duplicate in order to continue their mission of restoring their current library of vintage World War II-era warbirds. A regular host to historic and commemorative aviation activities, the Champaign Aviation Museum was honored by being the staging ground for the gathering of the B-25s. In honor of the incredible feat accomplished by then Lieutenant Colonel James Jimmy Doolittle and the Doolittle Raiders' historic raid over Tokyo on April 18, 1942. The mission, against incredible odds, delivered a psychological blow to the Empire of Japan and boosted Allied morale. During the 2012 reunion event, Grimes Field saw an historic 22 airworthy B-25s gathered in the same place. Maintaining our heritage and international patriotism is all our responsibility. The lessons learned and freedoms protected is symbolized by these magnificent machines. Our heroes of World War II vanish into the pages of history every day as the years pass by, but our opportunity to preserve these iconic aircraft is the mission that lies ahead. You can be part of this mission by getting involved. With 6 aircraft in inventory and more on the way, the Champaign Aviation Museum needs you more than ever. As a 501c3 organization, your contributions go directly towards the task at hand, so there's never been a better opportunity to make a difference. Whether volunteering your time and skills, making financial contributions, or even donating tools to the effort, you can ensure that these timeless icons of freedom and perseverance don't fade into the history books, but continue to fly proudly through the skies we fought so desperately and valiantly to protect.